we on? Hello, everybody. My name's Steve. That's Tyron, the handsome young man that he is. And anyways, we are here to sing about the light that's inside of each of us and how if we share it with each other, my gosh, you can bring happiness all around. It's called This Little Light of Mine. And we're gonna try to find places all around the South Shore that are letting their light shine by singing. I'll start it out. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, why I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All right, let's look around. I see someone in Weymouth. Where can you let your light shine?
Around our house.
At your house? Great place to let it shine. 1, 2, 3, all around my house. I'm gonna let it shine. All around my house. I'm gonna let it shine. I said all around my house. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Woo! Randolph, I see someone with their hand raised. Where can you let your light shine?
The school.
At your school? That's cool. All around my school, I'm gonna let it shine. All around my school, I'm gonna let it shine. I said all around my school, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, now everyone, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All right. Winsy, I see you want to share something.
The world.
All around the world? Holy smokes. Let's do it. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everyone from Stars, let's do it. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Come on. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I am meteorologist Michael Page. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. If you've been to these events live in the past, you may recognize me. I'm thrilled to be back, albeit in a slightly different form. First of all, tonight, I want to say thank you so much to music director Steve McDonald. That was a really nice way to start off tonight. And of course, all of the school-age students for their performance as well, making it feel a little bit more normal as we come to you virtually. So thank you again for joining us tonight here. We, of course, are here to celebrate 5 decades of impact, of benefit for South Shore Stars. So it's going to be a special evening, even though we do have to do things a little bit differently. If you joined us right on time, thank you. The slideshow photos you saw were just taken this past fall at birthday parties for stars held at each center. So you're getting a little snapshot from the past here. If you registered in time, you also got a little treat in the mail, as did I. This has been staring at me in my kitchen for the last couple of days, so I'm very excited that we can enjoy this tonight as we celebrate, and perhaps you have a beverage next to you of your choice. It's kind of the other nice thing about being in your house. You don't have to worry about designated driving or anything like that. You can enjoy whatever you'd like and then just roll right to the bedroom when we're finished. All right, so as we move on tonight, let's take a look now. You're seeing the thermometer on your screen. So when folks make a donation, you can see the value right there. So how do you do this? I'm going to read the instructions verbatim so you can follow along with me. All you have to do is send a text message to the phone number 41444. So you send a text 41444. That's where you put kind of like the 2 line as if it were one of your friends. And then you'll see the amount pop up on the screen. You're going to make the thermometer rise. So create the new message. Remember, enter the numbers 41444 as the recipient. That's who you're sending it to. And then you're going to type in the message part, *50, followed by the amount that you'd like to pledge. And then your name will be scrolling right here on the screen. I have it sitting next to me, so I'm going to read some of these off as we go deeper through the night. And then we'll just kind of go from there, and hopefully you can all be generous. It's very different celebrating with you this way. This is now the second virtual event I've done, but we're getting better at these Zooms, I think. And of course, we're happy to have you with us tonight in any form. I've learned so much about the important role that STARS plays in our community. And part of the reason I like it so much is because I'm originally from Hingham on the South Shore, so I still spend a lot of time there. For the next half hour or so, you're going to be hearing from representatives of the 5 facets of STARS. And that's going to give you a little bit of a sense of what goes on here. And it's really going to give you a nice view of how STARS has been able to grow and support families all across the South Shore for the last 50 years. This is a big year that we're marking virtually tonight. And you're also going to hear from 2 speakers who have directly benefited from STARS and all the work that is done through the organization. But first, here's a person that we all know very well, leading STARS for 26 years, Executive Director Sherry Adlin.
Thank you so much, Michael, for being our MC tonight. Turning 50 is a very big deal. It is a major milestone for every individual and organization, and I am so happy to be celebrating South Shore STARS' very important milestone with all of you, our STARS family and friends. I am very privileged to have been STARS Executive Director for 26 years. I'll be retiring soon, knowing that our extraordinary board of directors and staff, along with all of your support, will mean that STARS will continue to provide excellence at the highest level in education, academic enrichment, and family support to thousands more South Shore families for many more years to come. South Shore STARS is in fact a product of Lyndon Johnson's War on Poverty, which for the first time since World War II provided federal funding for childcare, recognizing that this funding was vital for poor families to be able to gain economic self-sufficiency. Family and child poverty on the South Shore is a pervasive, seemingly intractable problem that STARS founders courageously set out to solve over 50 years ago. They believed, and decades of research now support, that the availability of affordable quality childcare was key to breaking the multi-generational cycle of poverty, which too many families confronted, and unfortunately still confront. They believe that no parent should have to choose between their dual responsibilities of being a caregiver and being a breadwinner. The mothers and community leaders who founded STARS in 1970 wanted to create an entity that would go far beyond just providing childcare. From STARS' inception, we had 2 interconnected goals: enable parents to work and support each of our children to thrive. And 50 years later, STARS has significantly contributed to positive, lasting change for thousands of South Shore families. Our commitment to children and families is long-term, from pregnant women to high school seniors. And some of our graduates even come back and work for us. I'm often asked, what makes STARS so special? A big reason is both the comprehensiveness of our programs and the continuity of our services. STARS is a unique organization in our communities because of our focus on low-income families and children and youth who've experienced significant trauma, coupled with our ability to provide continuity of services from infancy to high school. Many of our children grow up with us, starting in our early childhood programs, then moving to our school age and older youth programs. Simply put, no other agency is doing this comprehensive work in our communities. In spite of our many successes, our work is far from done. Unfortunately, Lyndon Johnson's war on poverty is far from being won. Our staff and board of directors are mission-driven, investing in every one of our children and families. Our commitment to diversity and cultural competence results in 70% of our children and youth being from racial and ethnic minority families. We work in partnership with all of our parents and caregivers, supporting the entire family, whether it be counseling a parent who is overwhelmed by their children's multiple needs, or assisting a parent of a high school senior to apply for college financial aid. We help families identify and access services, making sense of often complex social services, mental health, and education systems. The approach of all of our programs is evidence-based and data-driven, with a consistent goal of building strong, positive relationships, promoting the development of curiosity, confidence, and the capacity to set and complete a goal, with the ability to effectively communicate with others. All of our children benefit from our dedication to excellence. Many of our children and youth would do fine, whatever program they attended, but for a significant number of them, attending STARS is vital to their being able to grow to their full potential and become successful adults. We've asked a number of people to help tell the STARS stories tonight. Each one represents one of the 5 facets that forms our star. Each has contributed to our 5 decades of success, starting with the vision of our founder, then the leadership in government, corporate support, partnership with community organizations, and most importantly, our dedicated and talented staff. There is one person, Rosemary Wahlberg, who led the community organizing effort that resulted in the founding of South Shore STARS, and then stayed involved, supporting and nurturing us for more than 5 decades until her death 2 years ago. She was a force to be reckoned with and very much my mentor. I miss her very much. Her husband, Archie, and her youngest child, Dan, who was one of the first children to attend STARS, then called South Shore Daycare Services, are going to tell you a bit about Rosemary and her dream to help parents to work and their children to thrive. With extraordinary persistence and tenacity, she made that dream a reality.
Rosemary and Archie Wahlberg, their mission was a joint mission. They were a unit in the truest sense of the word.
We were married in January. We had our first child 9 months later.
Yeah, they had 5 children in 5 calendar years.
We thought we were very fortunate. It wasn't unusual to wake up in the morning and have 4 or 5 kids in bed with you. Rich we were, happy we were.
My mother had 8 children, and then 10 years later, she had me. And in the interim, she had joined the war on poverty. She was super smart, super organized, and had really enjoyed that role as a soldier in that war. So when she got pregnant, she didn't want to give up this battle and looked for daycare for me, and it wasn't readily available. And she couldn't figure out why a woman who wanted to return to work really was almost institutionally forbidden by doing it because there was no one to care for their children if they chose to have a career path. She found a number of people of that generation that wanted to change the world and make it a better place and started South Shore Daycare. And here we are 50 years later. I literally am the first student. I started there as a newborn. I loved South Shore Daycare Stars so much that I didn't go to kindergarten. Why do I sit on the board? Why did I go to Sherry and ask what I could do? And it was the same thing instilled in all of us. It does take a village. For these organizations to thrive, it takes people to give back. And my parents had 9 children, and a second income helped change our family's trajectory. By my mother returning to work and having that income, they were able to lift us out of, I would say, working poverty to the middle class. They bought a house when I was in South Shore Daycare from a seed that was a tiny little organization in 1968 and have been impacting greater Boston families for 50 years. It's amazing. It's amazing. And people have stayed on and been employees for 30, 25, 30 years under Sherry's leadership over the last 20 plus years to grow it into what it is today is a testament to that group and to Sherry and to all the employees. They knew that before the war on poverty that things were not as good for working families. And through women entering the workforce and educating their children, they changed the trajectory of all those families, and it's an amazing thing. Sherry's generation knew that my mother had not taken no for an answer, that it was not easy, that it was a struggle. I miss her ability to go into a room and convince people that things need to change, and people need to stand up and be heard, and that's what I miss. And I miss my mom.
That makes 2 of us to miss it.
It's government that sets the rules for how programs like STARS operates and provides the basic foundation funding that allows us to operate, but not without significant support from the private sector, foundations, corporations, and individuals like you. More and more government leaders are understanding how important programs like STARS are to the economy, family well-being, and children's success in school. I'm now going to introduce you to one of those leaders who, as a former teacher, deeply understands the contributions that STARS makes. State Representative Ron Mariano has served Weymouth and Quincy with distinction since December 1991, and the entire state in his many leadership roles in the Massachusetts House of Representatives, including now as the House Majority Leader. I'm so very appreciative that he is joining us tonight to share his perspective as a government leader of why STARS is so important in our communities.
Rosemary was a very special person, as is her husband, Archie. 2 people that wanted to see STARS successful and dedicated their life to making sure that it was. She spoke for people who had no voice, and as did Archie. And that drove most of all of her activity her whole life, was trying to make sure the kids who may not have had the benefits that the average kid had could at least access the educational foundation that they need to be successful. So you have wealthy communities that can afford to have finer and better educational systems in some of the poorer communities. So there is a very big discrepancy. And I was on the school committee for 16 years, and we had a real problem with our dropout rate in the 90s, the late 90s. And decided to focus more on early education. So STARS has been one of the great success stories in our educational system. Huge effect on retention rates, huge effect. STARS is an opportunity for kids to get individual attention from teachers and teaching assistants that is extremely important in the development of self-confidence and the development of skills. The greatest predictor of success in any classroom is the amount of time that kids interact with adults. And you see that model exemplified in all the classrooms that I've ever visited in STARS. You realize that these kids need a shot, and they want to be successful, they want to do well, they want to succeed. And I think STARS gives them the opportunity to succeed. Education has changed in the Commonwealth during this pandemic. So there is a commitment, and we're serious about dealing with the challenges that we face in education, whether it be the pandemic or just the income disparity between communities. We don't need bridges named after us. We don't need signs on street corners saying we were here. The legacy that we leave in the lives that we touch is the biggest legacy for any one of us to leave.
Access to high quality early education and care not only benefits children, but it is a critical workforce issue, economic development issue, and a good business imperative. Participation in high quality early education and care increases a child's likelihood of graduating from high school, obtaining a college degree, and being gainfully employed. STARS is so fortunate to have many corporate supporters whose contributions truly make a difference to our ability to do our work. Doug Briggs, Chairman and CEO of the Quincy Group, is going to share why, as a business leader, he is such a strong STARS supporter.
We always thought that STARS was an education institution. In Quincy Mutual Group, we know that STARS creates programs and also measures the value of those programs. And we know that in STARS is a really, really good program that helps these kids get through the 9th grade. And once they get through the 9th grade, there's a very high probability, once they're in STARS, that they'll actually get through high school. And the probability is actually higher than some high schools on a standalone basis. So again, it's helping society, the greater society, and why is it vital for corporations and entities like ours to be involved with STARS? And I keep going back to, I just feel it's more than just business. We really believe in the program. We've helped them both financially. And Tom Harris is now the president of the company. He's been very, very involved for the entire 15 years. My brother Steve was on the board for a number of years. And we just feel it's really, really important organization. And we don't do it as much from a business standpoint as that is just the right thing to do for society.
The support STARS receives from the greater community is critical in our achieving our mission. We partner and collaborate with school leadership and teachers, other community service providers, mental health professionals, and local state agencies. We depend on community leaders and hundreds of volunteers each year to be able to provide the best programming for our children. At the same time, STARS has historically provided leadership not only in our communities, but statewide, advocating for investment in the highest quality programs, as well as bringing people together to develop new initiatives and identify new resources. We look beyond the direct services STARS provides to identify resources to best serve our communities. Sarah Link from United Way of Massachusetts Bay, STARS' most important and longest term partner, is going to share some of our work as a community leader and partner.
United Way has a long history of investing in nonprofit organizations whose missions align with ours. So United Way and STARS both share the goal of working with families, with young children and school-aged children, really starting at a young age to provide high-quality early learning environments for our youngest citizens, and family engagement programs. These are all those skills of how we relate to the world, how we communicate with each other, how we care for each other. I'm sure many of the guests at the events think about the skills that they need to use every day in navigating life and family life, particularly in tough times like a pandemic or in a financial crisis. It's why United Way gives general operating dollars as part of our annual investment, to really trust STARS to be able to support families where they most need it, to be able to invest in an organization that's doing such incredible work supporting families and children. The dollars are more needed than ever as the organization expands their hours to support children during school day learning, as they're providing that critical emergency assistance when crises arrive. So it's really important now more than ever, in a time when everyone is experiencing tightenings of their bank accounts and things are tough, but all the more reason to really dig deep and really provide the organization with the stability to go into the next 50 years.
STARS is successful because of the commitment of our skilled staff, teachers, and social workers who have a deep understanding of child development and build trusting relationships with each and every child and family, knowing that it is never one size fits all. Our staff are true superheroes as they persistently, patiently provide the early education, care, and enrichment and mentoring that every child deserves. They make a difference every single day. Nina Jimenez, who has been a STARS teacher for 33 years, is going to share a bit of her story.
There is so much potential in children, and I think that when you work with kids, you have to love kids. You know, I when I started in South Shore, I started as a substitute teacher. And after that, you know, I just kept ascending and ascending. I have had 33 years of learning, and both ways. I am learning from the kids, and we learn from each other. And right now we are we are being growing other plants from clippings, and then we see the roots grow. I had this little child that she's really had a hard time. The resting time. Rest time is she takes all those plants, she puts it around her mat, and she's in heaven. She just is in peace. She's peaceful. When your child comes to start, they feel safe. And the kids teach you so many things. And the first thing that children have taught me is that if you can get along with others, you can do anything in life. Like I see the classroom as a community, and everybody is important. And right now, I have a child that she thinks that she can run the whole, the whole classroom because she never was in school and she never played with other kids. To me, it's like, oh, let me see what I can do for that child that has a challenge getting along with the others. We show them how to interact with other children. We give them the words, we give the solution. So she's changing little by little. I see beautiful changes. She is learning how to ask the child, can I play with you? She didn't know how to play. The kids, you know, when they are in the house area and they are pretending to be lawyers and mothers, they are learning how to solve problems with each other. You know, they are negotiating with each other. So I get to study the child and guide that person to become an important social member of the community. I am not the only one that has 20 years, 15 years. People that work for STARS stay with STARS because they believe in what we do. We are here for the children. We are here for the families. You know, I just love kids. I mean, I and they know it. And I think they can read my heart, really, because if they could go in that heart of mine, they will see my love for them.
And now I want you to meet Joyce, whose family tragedy led her to STARS, and the support she and her granddaughter received helped both of them to be better able to cope. Not only was Joyce able to continue working, but her granddaughter is now thriving in spite of the terrible trauma she experienced.
I first became involved with STARS when I lost my son. He passed away from a drug overdose, and he had custody of his 2-year-old daughter. She thought that her daddy could come back, that he might have been gone, but that people come back. Honestly, it's hard for me to talk about. I was barely coping. I was barely coping. I really didn't know what the next step was going to be, because I knew I had to work, and I had to have a place for my granddaughter to go. And I knew that I couldn't pay $2,200 a month for daycare on my own. I was referred to STARS by my social worker. She made an appointment for me, and I never felt so welcome, ever. They're just wonderful people. And I knew that was a place for us to go. They have so many programs available. They have preschool, they have an early intervention program like the Head Start program that they have. They have after school program to help them through the rest of the day, get their homework done. So there was a place for Georgia to come. I think that she's coming along really great, and she's absolutely thriving. She engages in all things that they offer her, but she loves the arts and crafts that they do. She loves all aspects of learning there. They make every day a new day. They have made it very easy for me to go to work, because when I drop her off in the morning, I know she loves to go there. They're like a family. They really make a connection, like an extended family. They will never know how greatly they've impacted my life. The program for me has been life-saving.
The best way to understand the impact that STARS makes is to hear directly from the people who have most benefited. I'm going to introduce you to Rick Hike, who had an incredible STARS journey. His struggling mom enrolled him in STARS as a toddler. He not only literally grew up with us, moving from family childcare to preschool to our school-age program over more than a decade, but eventually he worked for STARS, earning a college degree and becoming a school-age center director.
For me, growing up, education wasn't instilled in us. It wasn't about getting an education. It was about just getting by, getting from one day to the next day. So when we had moved down here from New York, my parents had separated, and being a single mom, it was tough to obviously hold down a job and then raise 2 young kids. I was part of that STARS family program when I was very young. I think I started at STARS probably around 4. From there, it just took off to where my mom had this lifelong support system. I've had amazing counselors, amazing experiences. They did so much more than just work with us at the program. Because of my upbringing, they're very much involved and made a point to show up to anything and everything to show support and make us feel cared about, right? Valued, a part of something like that. It wasn't just me, my sister, and my mom, out on an island by ourselves. And so 10 years later, I was working at a gas station and I got a call from one of the counselors I actually had when I was a kid to ask me if I would sub at one of the after school programs. Their sites were a little short at the time, staff-wise. So in my mind, I said, why not? I've always loved kids. I brought those same games that I learned when I was 5 and 6, when I started working for STARS. And I learned techniques when I was younger through the counselors I had through playing games. Like there's a game called Around the World that you can play with basketball and make that into a math game. There's no better job, there's no better feeling than connecting with a kid and watching them smile. It's because, like you said, so many kids are in that same predicament, right? You don't know what home life they're coming from. And what was great about STARS is they offered this program through EEC that would actually get you certified through a school-age childcare certificate program. Fast forward probably about a year or 2 later, they offered another grant program, which paid for me to get my bachelor's degree actually in sociology. And then after I actually graduated magna cum laude, which blew my mind away. And that was able to hype me to become a director in the program. I wouldn't have been able to become a director without that bachelor's degree. I wouldn't have been able to get a bachelor's degree without that grant. Without working for STARS, that grant never would have became an opportunity for me. STARS has affected me personally with growing the man that I've become. I've run into kids periodically all the time. So I'm walking through the mall and I'm walking out and this kid's walking in and he goes, Rick. And I turn around and I knew right away who it was. And so I'm catching up with this kid, and this kid was 26 now. I had him when he was young, probably about 6 to the age of 11. And, you know, he was a child who had difficulty showing his emotions. So, you know, like most young boys do, you know, they show emotions through anger, you know. So through some of the techniques that I've learned, was able to really coach him and guide him and be receptive to learning different techniques to curb that. So fast forward, you know, almost 20 years later now, he graduated from Bridgewater University and now he's a teacher. And that blew my mind. Now this kid is actually teaching other kids. So it's amazing how life goes full circle. If you're outside looking in, you're thinking like an after school program, like, all right, let me give the kids a place where they can go play after school. But it's so much more than that. When you're investing in STARS, whatever you're investing is going to a long-term, lifelong investment. So in this, you're not just investing in any one kid, you're really investing in this kid and also the child that he's probably going to affect down the road. You know, there's a lot of kids out there with challenging backgrounds. You're giving somebody the experience and the opportunity to meet a person, a caring person that will bump them on the right path in life.
All right, that was a really nice summary of the importance of South Shore STARS, of course. I think it's especially important tonight on this 50th anniversary to hear about those 5 facets and all of the support that goes into the organization and that the organization gives out as well. And big thank you to Joyce and Rick in particular for those very personal stories. It obviously takes a lot to share those with us in this type of setting, no less. So as we reflect on that video and look forward now, I just want to give another big thank you to the sponsors for tonight. Without that support, STARS, of course, wouldn't be what it is. So presenting sponsor, Quincy Mutual. And we also want to look at the Galaxy sponsors tonight as well, Eastern Bank and Electro Switch. So Eastern Bank, Electro Switch, and Quincy Mutual Group, thanks to each of those different organizations for the support tonight. And as you just heard there, many of you probably are well aware, Sherry Adeline will be retiring at the end of this year. What a year to end on. And I wish I were there, Sherry, to give you a big hug as we do every year. You deserve it, especially this year. But thank you so much for everything that you've done for the organization. It certainly has been a long run for you with a big history, and you've made your mark. And to mark 50 years for the organization as a whole and to prepare for the upcoming retirement, last year, the board actually completed a strategic plan focusing on how STARS can do even better in the future. So I want to run through that now. It's a Constellation Fund. We talked about it earlier in the evening if you were with us. So it's been established to support the goals of the strategic plan. And here they are. So increasing support for the growing number of children who have experienced trauma of some sort, an additional focus on social and emotional development in school-age centers, implementing an agency-wide family support and engagement plan, and expanding older youth programs, and deploying technology to better serve all children. And boy, do we know the importance of technology, especially after the pandemic. This year is a big reminder of that last point. So this is where you can really help. You can text to give. Your donation will support this Constellation Fund that I just outlined for you and help STARS as it embarks on another 50 years of great success and support for the South Shore. $5,000, and last time we checked in on the donate even more, and it looked like we were doing pretty well. Look at this. So, excuse me while I look off screen just so I can see the number, 27,642. That's what we have already raised. We still have a little bit more to go. So if you didn't catch how to donate before, it's on your screen. I'll read it now. Grab your cell phone, nice and easy. You want to text the message STARS50 to the phone number 41444. All right, so the amount will then appear on the screen and make the thermometer actually go up. So include your name if you want to see that. on the screen, and of course the amount, that's kind of important as well. And you can see it as it updates here in real time. So 41444, that's the to field, as if that's your friend or your contact or whatever. And then in the message section, it's stars 50, and that's where you're going to get your name and the amount. So you can see a couple of these totals starting to come in. You can leave it anonymous if you don't want your number up there, but even while I've been talking for the last couple of minutes, we've already raised a couple $100 more. So now we're at $27,867. Thank you so much for everyone. And you can see a big range here. So Mark donated $250. And then you can see we have a $10 donation from Stephen White. So it all matters here. It all adds up. $100 from Suzanne, Michael Connolly with $100, $1,000 donation here from Alex and Davis Clark. Thank you. That's very generous of you. And you can see the numbers keep going. So we're updating here as we go through the night. The other thing I just want to remind you, if you don't have a chance to do this, maybe you've got something else going on in the background, the thermometer will stay active through the week. So you can still give after the live presentation ends tonight, but I can still see plenty of you are out there watching, and we appreciate that. So enjoy your cupcake. Have an extra glass of wine. Maybe you'll feel a little bit extra generous. Remember, you don't have to drive tonight, so that's kind of a nice benefit for everybody. You can see some more donations popping up here. $250 from Joe and a $5,000 donation. Wow, that's extremely generous from Bob Rivers. So the goal, remember, is $35,000, and right now we stand just shy of $28,000. There's a $1,000 donation from Brian Hayes, for example. $512 donation. You can be as precise as you want. We've just crossed 27.9. So the numbers keep coming in with special messages for the retirement as well. That's awfully sweet. 410. You can see some new totals starting to pop on. $51 from Shannon Crowley as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Even though it's kind of a different night to have everyone on Zoom or through Facebook Live, it's actually been really nice to see your comments. I've been on the Facebook Live too to see everyone's comments in real time. Usually that's not something we get. You can chat with your table usually, but me as the MC, usually I'm just kind of up and I don't get to see the comments. So it's nice to see everything coming through as well. There's another $500 donation as we get closer and closer to $29,000 tonight. And just remember, this goes through the end of the week. So I'll give the instructions one more time before we sign off for the evening. You can text to the number 41444, stars 50 in the message with the amount and your name. The thermometer will stay active all night. But for right now, that's where we're going to leave it this evening. I want to thank all of you for coming to this big 50th celebration. Actually, we just had a huge jump up in the number to 33.8. So nice. Well done. Glad I talked for a few extra minutes. That's great. We are so close to that $35,000 mark. Hopefully, you're still working the fingers even as we sign off for tonight. But again, I'm Michael Page for Stars. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully we can see you in person. Give everyone a big hug in person next year as well. Up to 34,000 right now. Have a wonderful night.